Hey, brother.
Hey, Al.
Hey.
How's it going?
Great. How are you?
Good. Doing
Good,
well.
good. Glad to hear it. And welcome everyone back to another episode of Siblings in Crime. I'm Allie Rosso,
And I'm Blake Murphy.
and just as it sounds, we're siblings who love true crime. So, before we get into it, because I always jump the gun, how was your week?
My week was good. I flew to,
California.
Orange County. That's it.
Super small runway.
Yep. Yeah, super small. It was fun.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
This week was good. I was in Utah most of the week. Then I came down, went to my nephew's birthday party yesterday. Turned 4. It was fun. Now I'm going back to Utah.
Nice.
I'm also going to Santa Ana tomorrow or Tuesday probably for a day. So
Just for fun?
yeah, Brett's there for work, so I figured I'll just go there one night and then come back here for work the next day.
Nice.
So lots of traveling.
I could try to get your day. I might be able to trade some things.
I probably need it though.
Why?
Because I need to start working more. We'll see. Well, maybe if I can trade for. Anyways, we'll talk about this later.
All right.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. But besides that, things have been good. Just a lot of travel. So, but that's what to expect. Anyways, anything else before we kind of get our intro into it?
I don't think so. I think I'm ready to rock and roll.
Okay. Well, for today, we're going to go back to June 4th of 2004 to a small town of Granby, Colorado, where kind of like a loner type of guy took revenge to a whole new level. Some people called him like a domestic terrorist, but others saw him as like kind of a town hero, a man who stood up to a corrupt system and took revenge in the only way he thought he could. But how did this average businessman and skilled welder go from running a muffler repair shop to demolishing his so-called enemies? And was this truly an act of self-defense against injustice, or was it a calculated act of vengeance? So we're going to go back to the beginning. Ready?
I'm ready.
Let's roll. Marvin Heemeyer was originally not from Granby, Colorado. He was actually born on October 28th, 1951 in South Dakota, but he ended up making his way over to Colorado because he loved snowmobiling, loved the mountains. So he kind of moved his way that way. But he was a very skilled welder and mechanic, and actually a really great business owner. And so by all accounts, he was very hardworking, talented, and very independent. So these traits are what made him very well liked by some, but also was seen as very stubborn and hard to deal with by others, which any businessman, I'm sure, can have those traits.
Yeah, probably.
So Marvin moved to Colorado in the 1990s and eventually settled in Granby, which was a quiet mountain town of very few people, less than 2,000 residents. I think they have yet to ever break 2,000 residents. It's like small.
Yeah.
So he opened a muffler repair shop called the Mountain View Muffler and developed a reputation as one of the best welders in the area. He even won
Area of 2000.
Yeah. Woohoo! Okay.
There's one other muffler welder in the whole state or in the whole area.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what geographic location. Hopefully it's all of Colorado that he's the best.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But he developed a reputation as like what I said was one of the best, but he won a local competition for best automotive repair shop multiple years in a row. So whether he has very little competition, but
he crushed it.
Maybe he was really good regardless. Yeah. And so Marvin wasn't just a businessman. He was also known for being outspoken, sometimes a little abrasive, and unwilling to back down from a fight. He loved snowmobiling and had an active social life, and he even participated in local radio talk shows, often ranting about local politics. So he didn't really have like that great reputation for those who are in the town council, any like local politicians. He kind of vocally had beef with those guys.
Yeah.
Did not like how they're running things.
Yeah. I mean,
that's pretty common, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone has their opinions. But despite his skills and success, Marvin felt that he was constantly battling an unfair system. And in his mind, the town of Granby, its officials, and certain business owners were all against him. So the root of Marvin Heemeyer's grudge was a lengthy zoning dispute. In the early 1990s, he purchased a 2-acre property just off Highway 40, and that's where he kind of set up his muffler shop. And the property was in an industrial zone, and business was booming over there. But the problem is, in the early 2000s, a local businessman named Cody Doshiff, could have pronounced that wrong, but what's new, proposed building a concrete batch plant called Mountain Park Concrete right next to Marvin's shop. And this is where Marvin started like fuming a little bit. From the start, he opposed the project, of course. He argued that the plant would block access to his property, his shop, making it difficult for customers to reach him, and devalued his property. He also claimed that the town's zoning board was unfairly siding with Cody and his business partners, who had more influence and political connections. And I guess
That's annoying.
Yeah, they had to do something with like the sewer line. Like they were gonna make him connect some sewer lines, and it was gonna cost Marvin a lot of money, but they were easily funding Cody. It was like some weird, like heavily weighted in the pro of Cody and not Marvin type of thing. So for 30 months, Marvin fought and delayed the approval of the proposed plans, but he couldn't shut it down entirely. In 2001, after a long battle and a series of town meetings, Granby's local government officially approved the construction of the concrete plant. And this was like a devastating blow for Marvin and his company. But instead of just backing down and just still working and doing what he can, he decided to fight back like hard. So he launched lawsuits, multiple, like, of course, filed multiple appeals and tried to block the plant's construction through legal means. But time and time again, he lost. The town council dismissed his complaints, and he became convinced that Granby's officials were corrupt and had sold him out. I, for one, don't know anything business, so I imagine this was like over a long process, probably a lot of hard work to file those complaints, but everything he did got shut down.
Yeah, that's sad.
So by 2003, the concrete plant was actually moving forward, and Marvin was running out of options. The town fined him for having junk cars on his property, denying him access to the sewer line, like we talked about, that he needed in order to expand his shop. So he felt like he was just like not able to grow whatsoever there now. Which he had like nice properties on like 2 acres in the mountains.
Yeah, it's kind of like Buffalo Jim.
I know. So I was actually thinking when I was looking at this.
But it's with
like,
the mafia instead of the government.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about him during this. I'm like, they're great at their job and basically just feel like they're getting run out of town.
Yeah.
And because he couldn't do anything to help his company expand. And so he decided, I don't know if decided is the right word. He ended up taking this personally. It wasn't, to him, it wasn't about like what was right for the company. He was like, they hate me as a person. And so what am I going to do about it? And so he started planning his revenge. It's a little murky and unsure of like what was going on at this time. But unbeknownst to anyone, in the early 2000s, so a couple of years prior, Marvin had took a little trip to California. At this time, I guess Marvin had a girlfriend for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, baby.
A little bit earlier. Nice. And they would, like, snowmobile together. Like, she seems outdoorsy and stuff. But by the time all this was going on, she was already out of the picture. And so he was kind of a loner type. He didn't have any kids. He didn't have any family nearby. He's from South Dakota or wherever. And so no one really knew what he was doing in California. But he went for a little trip there. And at this time, he was just like off the grid. And so although we don't know much about what was going on when he was in California for a little bit, then he came back, what we do know is that while he was there, he had purchased I'm going to purchase Komatsu. Hopefully that's the brand. Komatsu. I should have looked it up. D355A bulldozer at an auction for $5,000, originally intending to resell for profit. So I don't know a thing about tools, machinery. That could have been the worst pronunciation ever. But the idea is it's a bulldozer. I know what that looks like.
Yeah.
So he bought this with evidently the like intent to resell. He left it on that's like the junk cars or whatever they talked about, and he got fined for that. He left on his store property on the curb with a for sale sign. Yeah. So I don't know if he's just trying to get an extra buck or what. So the initial idea was he was going to be selling it. Until one day, like, it wasn't on the curb anymore. So residents assumed probably it was sold or he removed it or whatever. Yeah. But what no one could have known was that inside his muffler shop in 2003, Marvin put himself to work modifying the machine. As his legal battles escalated, he saw the bulldozer as something else. He saw it as his way to fight back. So he's a welder, he's a mechanic, he knows his way around all these machines.
Yeah.
And so no one would have ever expected he'd be in his shop. And one thing about him is like, obviously it's a lot of noise when you're messing with machinery. And so he would sleep during the day and work on his bulldozer at night. And so no one really saw him for a while. He was just kind of off the grid. He was working in his shop. No one knew what he was up to. And this was for a whole year and a half. So like everyone's like,
dang.
where's Marvin? And
Yeah.
like obviously if he's working on his like machine at night and he's sleeping during the day, he's probably not really doing much for his muffler shop.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine the town people were like, whatever happened to him. But for a year and a half, Marvin worked in secret. And he was transforming this bulldozer into what we now know as basically an armored tank.
Oh, whoa. That's kind of wild.
I know. He installed steel plates reinforced with concrete, making the vehicle basically bulletproof. The armor was between 1 and 1.5 inches thick, making it impervious to small arms fire and even more even some explosives. So like
Dang.
nothing was getting into this bulldozer.
He's the only one.
Mm-hmm. So inside the cab, exactly. He installed cameras inside the cab that connected to multiple monitors, allowing him to see outside while remaining completely sealed inside.
I see.
So I was like, this guy's a smart dude.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would have never thought that. And there were no doors. There's no escape hatches. Once you're inside, there was literally no way getting out except cutting through the thick armor. So
He sealed himself
was
in,
like,
or you can't just open it?
you can't open it. You have to like break it in. This is where it was kind of confusing, which we'll go back to. But before we jump to that, I want to also say that he not just was like bulletproof, he also mounted several rifles inside with gun ports, allowing him to fire at anyone who tried to stop him. So he had like little ports where his guns would go through. And that's the only like, I don't know if window's the right word, but the only entrance in and out, like they can see through.
Dang.
Yeah, the final modification was like an air conditioning unit and food supplies, ensuring he could operate what is now known as the Killdozer.
Wow.
For
That's crazy.
hours without stopping. Yeah, and so by spring of 2004, the machine was ready, and so was Marvin. On the afternoon of June 4th, Marvin climbed inside the Killdozer and sealed himself in. This is what I was going to get to. It's kind of confusing on how this is because according to reports, he had to use a crane to like literally, I don't even know how this happens because he got inside. I don't know how he controlled the crane. This is why I couldn't imagine this. Evidently, somehow he used a crane to seal or to like lift the last part of the,
Maybe he just had a buddy do it.
I guess there's no one that came forth to say that they helped.
I wouldn't either.
Good point. Yeah, good point. Yeah, I don't know how he sealed it in. Like, evidently, he used a crane or some sorts to, like, literally seal him inside.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had tools on the inside that helped seal it off. But what we know is that this now known Killdozer had no entrance or exits. So once you're inside, like, he was committed to this.
Yeah.
Which is frightening because if he's putting his, like, literal life to do this, like, who knows what he would be willing to do.
Yeah.
I hate that. And that's exactly what he goes on to do, is literally sacrifice everything for this cause of his to show the corruption in this 2,000-person small town.
Yeah.
Once everything was ready, he started the engine, and he drove straight through the wall of his shop, plowing onto the street and heading for his first target, which, of course, would be Mountain Park Concrete. The building was obliterated within minutes as workers fled in terror. So he literally plows through his own shop, knocks it down completely, going next door to his neighbor, who is like his rival, Cody's shop, and he has this full-blown tank.
Yeah.
So he's rolling into the building and literally just tearing it apart.
Yeah.
Literally demolishing it.
Yeah.
You just did your first demolition thingy. How was that?
That wasn't my first one.
Oh, really? I didn't know that you've ever done it.
I was just doing it because We wanted to get started faster.
Yeah.
So.
It seems like a lot of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
A lot easier with the tank.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just tore that place apart. So then he set his sights on other places that he felt had wronged him. The Granby Town Hall was completely destroyed. Mm-hmm. The office of the local newspaper, hilarious to me.
Yeah.
But it was completely crushed. And the home of the former mayor their home was reduced to rubble.
Yeah, just taking out anyone who's probably crossed him before.
Exactly. He definitely had a hit list.
Yeah.
One thing that was good about this whole situation, if there is any good, was the tank is so slow. So they're like, okay, he's going down the freeway. He's going like 5 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
So it's taking him a long time to get places. So all these locations, they were able to get everybody out.
Yeah.
Like, you got a big tank coming for you.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sure his goal wasn't to kill anyone. I'm sure it was to just destroy things because they destroyed his business.
right. I mean, that would make sense. I would hope that it wasn't to literally murder.
Yeah.
But for nearly 2 hours, Marvin rampaged through Granby, and he was leveling his enemies' properties the whole way through. Mm-hmm. He was just literally going down like Main Street and just knocking down buildings.
Yeah.
That is crazy to me.
I know.
Law enforcement arrived quickly, but their bullets and small explosives literally had no effect on this like massively heavy duty armory. The town SWAT team town SWAT team. Do you guys have a town SWAT?
They probably have like a SWAT team that covers like 12 towns.
Yeah. The SWAT team eventually made it over there, but I'm like, Granby's town. Okay, yeah. So the town or the SWAT team nearby attempted to disable the Killdozer by shooting at its cameras, but Marvin had protected them with thick bulletproof glass, and nothing was stopping him. In fact, at one point, like, they were trying to get on top of the bulldozer to see if there's like a door they can get into. Mm-hmm. And he had coated it in some slick stuff. I don't know what the material was of, but it was like so hard for anybody to get on top because of how slippery it was. Mm-hmm. I'm like, dang, Marvin thought of literally everything.
Yeah, he's like,
they're gonna get on time. Yeah, they're gonna try to get on it, and they're gonna slip off.
Yeah, they're like, it's only stopping if he runs out of gas.
Yeah, seriously. And one police officer did, in fact, actually make it on top, and he was like riding it for a while, but there was no way to get inside.
Yeah.
Like, once you're on top, it's like, oh, great, now there's no door and hatchet or anything. So that ended up falling apart anyways. But the destruction only ended, like you kind of said. It was like either run out of gas or just, like, have an engine failure, which he had the engine failure.
That sounds weird how you're saying it. It sounds...
His engine failed.
Yeah.
Like, a car engine would fail.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about planes.
Yeah.
But he actually came to a stop at the Gamble's hardware store where his engines literally died out. And there was like no way out of that situation. Obviously, it couldn't be repaired. He was stuck inside. So Marvin had one last act left. And that's when he sadly pulled out a handgun and placed it at the roof of his mouth and pulled the trigger.
Oh, man. That's sad.
We knew that he wasn't going to get out of the situation. He knew he wasn't going to. And so it's so heartbreaking that this was how he saw that he needed to handle the situation. When authorities finally cut through the armor, that literally took hours, like multiple hours to get through this armor.
Yeah.
They found Marvin's body inside, and no one else had been armed during the rampage. Oh, sorry. No one else had been harmed during the rampage. Something that made people question whether his intent, like you said, was to actually like cause harm or damage.
Yeah. Seems like damage.
That's what it seems like. But I mean, like, he has so many guns and stuff. It seems like that could have easily hurt so many people.
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe damage, and if something happens, it's okay type of thing. But in the years since, Marvin's story had taken on kind of a life of its own. Some people saw him as a hero, that he was able to like stand up against this corrupt government, and like he actually became like to some people like this town almost like a celebrity. Like he was like doing what was right. He stood up for what he believed. But then other people obviously saw him as this dangerous extremist whose actions could have easily killed so many people. Yeah. And maybe it was just a blessing that it didn't happen. But the Killdozer itself was dismantled, with its parts distributing across different scrapyards to prevent it becoming a symbol or like a shrine. So they didn't want like his followers being like, we're going to build or like honor this or some sort. With questions surrounding why he would do such an act, tapes were found of Marvin talking for hours while he was building this Killdozer about the betrayal he felt and the reasons why he felt the need that he had to do this.
Yeah.
He talked about the corruption in the small town, and surprisingly, he talked about often about his impression that he felt from God, that he was given this calling to teach these people a lesson, basically. I was like, that's an interesting...
He's just trying to...
Justify
it in his mind.
I think that's a pretty common thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if it's a righteous act, then it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't explain it all that well. Like, it goes into quite a bit of detail. So I actually have like some of his tapes. I'm actually going to put him and play him now.
Right now.
Those who made me your enemy, they are the guilty ones. The Thompsons are guilty. The Dochefs are guilty. The Granby Town Board is guilty. The Granby Planning Commission is guilty. My neighbors are guilty. It took all of you 10 years to get me. And you got me, no doubt about it. I got screwed big time. We talked today about it to Dave Patner. He knows I got and he knows that they do it. And they get away with it. There's nothing you can do about it, he says. Well, I'm going to do something about it. Now, if I would have been married, had a family, things may have gone different. But God built me for this job. He rewarded me for 45, 50 years with the lifestyle that I am so thankful for. And it's unfortunate, the poor people in Granby, so many of them were so jealous of my lifestyle that I could come and go as I pleased. Well, God blessed me in advance.
So these tapes have led to like much confusion and division amongst like this little town, because you have him on one hand sounding like some hero, that he's like killing the villain and that it's God sent and all this stuff. But then on the other hand, they're like, this is business and what's the big deal? Like, why'd you take it personally and destroy our town?
Yeah. Why didn't you just move?
Yeah, seriously.
He didn't like it.
Especially because he was only there like less than a decade.
Yeah. One thing I remember is like the land was devalued a bunch, like you said, so it was probably hard to sell it, but I think he had opportunities to sell and then didn't.
That's true.
But so it's kind of like should have just sold and left, or
That's the thing. That's why I think he talks about the God thing a little bit. Is like he feels like if he felt like he was destined to do something crazy like this, I can see the motive to stay if he truly believed that.
Yeah.
But to sacrifice his own life, like when he was going in that Killdozer, he knew that he was not coming out.
Yeah.
And,
obviously.
Right.
He
and
sealed himself in almost.
Right. He brought a handgun ready for it. It's like so heartbreaking. And
yeah, I just got so obsessed with it. That's how I wanted to end.
Yeah, it seems like this is what he felt like he had to do to like make a last, like to save the town from corruption or whatever he told himself.
Yeah.
Which is heartbreaking because you can know that there's so many different alternative endings this could have had. The cement company, Mountain Park Concrete, ran by Cody, arguably is where the feud all began, right? Because of that cement thing that they want to put there. He got the hardest pushback. Like, business was like attacking him at this point, where people were like completely turning against them, saying that because of their feud, this is the reason Marvin had to do this stuff. So the people that like saw Marvin as like this noble man who did all these things, like turned hard against kind of the town and especially Cody. And one thing that was interesting, actually, let's see if I have it right here. I was curious about like what the companies are up to these days. I was like, okay, are they still in business stuff? And poor little Cody's Mountain Park Concrete, it has like 1 star right now on Yelp. And some of like the reviews are kind of brutal. Like there was some, I saw like 3 that were like, great guys, whatever. Most of them are all 1 stars. And I'm going to read a couple reviews because I was like, it's crazy how this like left a legacy. This is 9 months ago, 10 months ago, a year. This happened in 2004, and these reviews are like within the last year.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. And it talks about, I just wanted a reliable muffler shop in town. Now we don't have that. Thanks. Hashtag Killdozer.
Wow.
I'm like, what the? It says,
That'd be like, I don't know. It's kind of crazy people would do that.
I know. They're like tearing this place up. It says, well, it looks like you done woke up one day and got bit by a snake. Guess they don't take too kindly to being stepped on, huh? And everyone's like hashtagging like Killdozer. And then one said, cement plant is dirty and the customer service is terrible. They freaked out on me when I showed up with my bulldozer. I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are like brutal out here.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of heartbreaking to see because I imagine, I would like to think that this cement plant was not coming at them out of like spite, you know? Like business is business. I don't see them like trying to personally attack Marvin. But you have Marvin's fans who are like, yeah, like you guys ruined the town, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess I kind of can see both sides. People reacting to it to this day, I'm like, everyone needs to be nicer.
Yeah.
But surprisingly and not so surprisingly, I guess, this wild destruction hardly stayed in the news. And it's because actually like former President Ronald Reagan passed away the next day.
Oh, wow.
And so like I was surprised because I actually have never heard this story before. Like we talked about it, and it seems like it'd be kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe I was 7 when this happened.
You weren't very old.
But I mean, I listened to a lot of crime and a lot of different cases. But but yeah, I guess quickly it was pretty covered up with all the news of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it took over 2.5 years for the town hall to make a new town hall, reopen. Like it took a
How
long
many
time.
years?
2.5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it took some time for them to like.
They're like, thanks, we get a remodel.
I know, like we've been needing this. No, so this all took a long time to rebuild, but with everything we talked about, I guess it's kind of really up to you on if you view Marvin's actions as noble or malicious. But regardless of which side you kind of stand on the fence of, on June 4th, 2004, it will go down as the day the Killdozer tore apart Granby, Colorado.
Dang, that's wild.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's kind of a cool story, but it's cool that no one died.
Right.
Actually, he died, but he did it.
That's true.
But it's also like kind of scary and sad that like he went to that Met level and it's also sad that the government in that town, weren't very fair, but I'm sure that happens everywhere.
Yeah.
That's why there's lobbying and all kinds of stuff trying to get in with politicians so you can get, free cards for free things, and not free, but like approvals and yeah.
That's one thing I kind of thought of our case 2 weeks ago with the family that went out into the woods in Colorado.
Yeah.
I was like, I think when you put something in your mind, it becomes so real. And like the other family, they were like thought that the government was putting microchips in our brains and stuff, So like, they were running out of fear. And Marvin is like, if you think that people are literally trying to personally bet on your downfall, like that's a scary mindset to be in. And I can see him having like all his defenses up. Which is sad. And honestly, I'm like so impressed though about the Killdozer. I'm gonna post a picture of it. I'm like, that is actually insane that he built such a machine.
Yeah, but then they kind of win because then he's gone now.
That's so sad.
So best thing to do is leave and be if you're the best
Muffler
welder in the town, you can go to the couple towns over and be just fine and do really well. So
that's the thing is
just kind of got obsessive with it and probably it hurt him.
That's the thing. Like, if you come to believe that this is like your responsibility to like bring down this corruption, like you keep telling yourself these things, and it can be very dangerous. But I mean, he did cause destruction enough where it took him a long time to rebuild, and I guess a lot of people were like voting against all these town people like the next election and stuff because of everything with this. And
that's good.
So I think in his mind,
it worked.
I think now, if he could have said, "No, don't drink my Monster," that was rude. So I think in his mind, he probably, if he was around today, would think of it as worth it, maybe a success. But, and actually it's really interesting because a lot of people have kind of made it like glorified it a little bit. But there's actually a couple songs about the Killdozer. They're like literally a song is called Killdozer, and they have like, and if you like look it up, it talks about how there is
Did
like.
you hear my stomach?
Yeah, I just heard your stomach. That was so loud.
I know, I'm hungry.
There's like songs made. There's like they celebrate him with music and with art, and like if you go there, there's like souvenirs of like magnets of the like. So it's like their town staple now in a weird way. But
they have museums of it.
yeah, so it's they really like. I think they've saved some of the parts of the Killdozer as like attractions and stuff. Anyway, such a bizarre story, and I think it all could have been easily avoided, like you said, if you just moved. But
Yeah, or they didn't do that. The town hall or the town.
Yeah,
whatever.
that's what I was gonna say. Or, I mean, it's one thing like you can't make everyone happy for sure, and I get that as the government. But I mean, it sounds like because it felt so personal to him, he should have been checked on more. I wish he had more like friends and family or something nearby too. I think connection's so important when you're kind of spiraling like this. So that's our story for this week. It's a little bit unique. Never have heard anything like this before.
Yeah.
But I found it super fascinating and just thought it deserved a little bit of a highlight this week.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. And
Karen.
I care so much. Do you have a trivia question? I want to answer a trivia.
All right, this one is kind of a weird one. It has to do with financial destruction because we were kind of talking about that right now.
Okay.
So the question is, what is considered the most financially destructive crime in history, causing an estimated 65 billion in losses?
Holy.
Yeah. A, the Great Train Robbery. B, the Enron scandal, the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme, or the Silk Road dark web marketplace.
I will be so honest, I don't know any A, B, C, or D of their backstory. So I'm going to go with C.
You're right.
Oh, really? What even was C? I don't even know.
It was the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme.
Oh, what is that?
Ponzi scheme?
Yeah.
All right, a Ponzi scheme is a fraudulent investment scam that pays returns to earlier investors using money from new investors instead of actual profits. It eventually collapses when new investments dry up or too many people try to withdraw their funds. So, and they basically also use part of that money for themselves too.
That makes sense.
So if they aren't bringing in more people, then they just don't have any more money to pay out and get caught. And there's a lot of people that have gotten caught for that.
And I feel like that's like the ultimate trap. Like I feel like if you're in that situation, that's like the worst case scenario. I feel like that's where all the family annihilators like come from, like that kind of trap where like there's literally no way out unless you like you're either going to jail, you pass away, or you dip the country.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really scary place to put yourself in. I can see that. Wait, how much was it? Like 65 billion or something crazy? That's wild.
Yeah. There was some guys here in Arizona that got in trouble for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think someone I know knows them, and they were like using like athletes' money.
No way.
Yeah, they were like traveling all over like in private jets and stuff.
That's crazy.
But I think it was, I don't remember, but.
Seems like one of the more common ones to get caught doing.
Yeah.
Like there's like, that'd be so hard to keep up with.
Yeah,
so
lots of scams.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for
one.
today. I just thought it kind of went along with
The
Killdozer slightly, just like financial destruction.
corruption.
Yeah.
All that stuff. I can see that.
Maybe not.
Good enough for me.